Support Pro Games on Patreon.
Hey guys, Andrew with PPG here, doing my first deck profile for the Grand Archive TCG. Been having a lot of fun with the game. So far, I've really only just played one deck that I've been able to build completely, which is the Wind Lorraine. So I'm gonna run you guys through it and give you guys my ideas. I'll try to make it quick. So first, I'm playing Wind. I think that's my favorite symbol right now. It just has very mid-range options. You have decent removal out of the sideboard, a lot of the synergistic cards, and just works well with the warrior archetype. So obviously we're playing Lorraine. Her level 1 lets you materialize a level 0 weapon. For those, we have 2 targets. This one, you're usually going to go into the Sword of Seeking when you materialize into her, but you also have this one as a backup Sword of Seeking because it has 2 durability on it, and it lets you attack units that have stealth. And then this one, on occasion, you need that extra damage. You can go into that one as well. I won't explain any of like the basic rules of the game. There's plenty of that content out there. I'm just gonna So those are 2 of the weapons that we play. Then we go up the line. We go up to level 2 Lorraine. This is her strongest version. When you go into this one is when you want to make your big plays, particularly with like a cleave card, so that you trigger her on kill effect multiple times. So this one on kill, she gets +2 damage, or on enter rather. She gets a +2 damage. So this will only be active for that turn. So this is her strongest turn, is when she levels up into her level 2. She has +2 damage and gains on kill, draw a card. So this is very, very useful. As soon as your opponent plays like too many units and you have a cleave, or you just want to remove something really efficiently, this will let you go into that. You'll swing into it, you'll draw a card. You have your level 3, but before you go into her level 3, I suggest playing out the Drawn Blade. The Drawn Blade on enter will let you draw a card. So you generally want to take a turn off to get that one out before you decide to go into the level 3. That's just a suggestion. It's almost like a value play, just because her level 3 on play will let you return in equipment from your banish into the play. So it will trigger the Drawn Blade again to draw a card, and then you'll be able to not be as low on card advantage when you go into her. She's more of a finisher. You don't go into her every game. A lot of games you'll just finish on the level 2 because this deck is very aggressive. But the level 3 will give you access to just a few Crux cards and a few Crux weapons that you have in the rest of your material deck. They just give you some options at the end of the game. I'm playing the Life Essence Amulet. This should be the Grand Crusader Ring, I think is what it's called. Divine Relic. However, that one is not accessible to me right now, but swap that out for this one if you have it. I think this is the next best option. You always have a board in this game, and your opponent has to remove your board, or else you're going to win. So this basically gives you a card draw, but it's delayed, and your opponent could play around it. I play also the Clarence, Sword of Peace. There's various other weapons that you can play. The reason I like this one is because you have a lot of 4 toughness units, and a lot of the removal in the game is essentially 4 damage, like the arcane removal that deals 4 to everything, or just in general. You can use it to prevent a board wipe on your 4 toughness units and basically make them 5 toughness using its you can do this at instant speed or in response when you have an opportunity. You can remove a durability counter from it to prevent the next 1 non-attack damage that would be dealt to all units you control. That includes also your leader, so it gives you like an extra health as well, or your champion rather. And then finally we have the 2 big boss weapons in the deck. So we have Sword of Avarice and the Sword of I'm sorry, it's called Prismatic Edge. I'm sorry. So this one, when you play it, it draws you 2 cards, which is really, really strong, which I'll show you with the combo in the main deck. And then this one on enter, you reveal the memory between you and your opponent, and if there is a fire element, you deal 3 damage. If there's a water element, you draw a card. If there's a wind element, you banish a card from their memory. There usually will always be a wind element, and depending on what your opponent is playing, you'll get the second effect. It's a lot less efficient, I would imagine, in the Wind Mirror, because it doesn't trigger twice. It doesn't have 2 trigger effects. But if you're playing its fire, it's just burn to the face or get rid of a unit. Playing its water, it just draws you a card. And plus, it's always triggering the wind one because you have a wind card in your memory. That's 3 damage, so it helps you finish off the game when you go into it. These have 2 memory costs, so they're a little bit difficult to go into regularly, but we do have a Crux card that lets us basically trade one weapon for another. So they're a little bit easier to shift in and out of the material deck that way. And then finally, I play one of this one, which is just a value card. Basically acts as like another just +1 draw. It gives, it's called the Majestic Spirit's Crest. You banish it, and on attack, your champion gains on attack draw a card until the end of turn. There's actually one card that we have in our deck called Combo Attack or something that lets you restand your champion on kill. So you can turn this into 2 draws with that card, or just cycle. Just have +1 draw. Once you get, note that this is Crux also, so you can only play this once you're level 3, but it costs 0, so it's pretty nice. That is the material deck. We will go into the main deck now. We play 4 Weaponsmith. Weaponsmith just to help you in the early game. It's a warrior. Everything in this deck is a human, and a lot of things are also warrior class bonuses. So this one has class bonus for warrior, so that's what synergizes so well with the deck. And this one basically lets you add a durability counter. So if you have her out on your first turn when you play the Sword of Seeking, you do your level up on your second turn, you can immediately give it 3 durability, and so on and so forth. If they don't remove this card, you just get to keep having a weapon in play, which will let you remove things or just attack and pressure the leader just for 1 extra damage per turn. So solid unit, 1/3, 2 reserve costs, very strong. Play 4 and Honorable Vanguard. Once again, another human warrior, and it has floating memory. Just a very solid unit. Floating memory you can use to pay costs for your memory deck, your material deck. So if they from your graveyard. So if they decide to remove this unit, you can use it to go into your material costs basically for free, and not have to banish any of your cards in your memory. You have 4 Banner Knight. Very strong, but he's only active at level 2. On level 2, he gives all other allies and weapons that we control +1 damage. So he's like an Anthem effect. This deck has a few of those, and this is one of the strongest ones. Only at level 2, a 2 reserve cost, 1/3 stat line. He's usually giving you his 1 damage plus at least like 2 to 3 other damage. He's like a 4 damage unit when he comes down. If you have multiple of these, you hold them, wait until you go into your level 2, and then just absolutely obliterate their board or kill them on that turn, just because it's very, 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 very strong. Play 2 the Dungeon Guide. I don't think you need too many. This deck doesn't really revolve around rushing to its level 3 like other decks. You can put this at 3. I think if you're playing 4, it's too many. At least this version of the deck doesn't really care about going into its level 3 super efficiently or quickly. It's available to you. It's still a fine card. I still wanted the option to do that randomly. It is also a human, so it gets buffs from all of our other cards. And it's not really essential. Basically, this card lets you basically almost skip a material phase and very efficiently do so. So it costs 3, and you banish 2 cards from your memory to level up your champion. So usually you'll do this in combination with your level 2 champion. And what you can do essentially is, because when you evolve into or level up into the new champion, you'll be able to restand, and it will keep the on-enter effect of +2 damage, draw a card on kill. So you can use it to go level 2, get the +2 damage on kill, swing with your champion, kill something, draw a card, play the Dungeon Guide, go into your level 3, restand your champion, swing again, trigger the draw effect again. So very, very strong combo. It doesn't come up that often. You don't really need it very often. Sometimes your opponent doesn't even have 2 units for you to kill, and that's when it's most useful. If you don't have a cleave effect in your hand, and you know, it's fine. It gets you to the level 3 instead of for 3 memory costs, or you can just do it for 2 basically. So it's pretty solid still, so we play 2. Going on to the normal, I'm starting with all the normal cards, by the way, and we'll move on to the element cards. This is your first attack. So this one is floating memory on the class bonus, so you're a warrior, so you get the class bonus. Very, very strong. Just 2 mana or 2 reserve, deal 2 damage. Just cycles basically, because you'll be able to use this to deal the 2 damage, remove a threat, or just ping the leader, start getting the damage race going, and then also be able to use it for floating memory. play 4 inspiring call. This is like one, it's not an anthem, but it's like a buff effect. It's very efficient. This card costs 2 less if you've attacked with your champion, which you generally attack with your champion almost every turn past turn 2 or past turn 1, I'm sorry. It gives allies I control +1 damage, and this deck swarms the board, has a lot of small units, and then I can draw a card into the memory. So it basically replaces itself. Very, very strong card. We played at 4. It allows you to just lethal your opponent out of nowhere if they don't leave up defenses. And we have 4 Swift Recruit, similar to the Honorable Vanguard, except it also has Intercept, and it's a wind element, which will help us trigger other things, but basically the same thing. Again, Warrior Human synergizes with everything that we're doing. And Floating Memory. So Intercept will let you block an incoming attack that goes to your champion, and then Floating Memory again, like to pay for costs. We have Wind Rider Vanguard. Wind Rider Vanguard is a 2/3 for 3, and it has class bonus Vigor, which means we'll attack with it and then we'll be able to restand it. So if they try to remove it by damage, we'll be able to retaliate back into whatever tries to attack it. If they attack with their leader, that's great because it'll swing for 2, restand, and then basically retaliate for 2 again. So it's dealing 4 damage, which is really, really efficient. 3 toughness, sometimes difficult for people to deal with as well. And once again, it meets all the requirements for us. So like we want to play a lot of humans. Very strong card. Good early game play. Same as Tactful Sergeant. Another just really strong card. It says on enter, if you've attacked with your champion this turn, you draw a card into your memory. So it basically replaces itself. It's on a 1/4 body, makes it tough to remove, which is nice because we have a lot of pump effects. But really, we just want a sticky board because then we're going to be able to play our Banner Knight, our Inspiring Call, and our Phalanx Captain, I believe, to pump all of these units and get them to really high damage. So this will just keep our hand size high. It's a good early play as well. Just swing with the unit, swing with your level 1 champion, Lorraine, with her level 0 sword when she comes in, and then be able to play this just to replace itself and get a body on board. Play 2 Asen Protector. So this one has Intercept as well in case you need some blocking. Another human, but on enter has a sort of a downside effect where you have to return an ally you control to our hand to gain value. The best one to return is usually the Tactful Sergeant. You play it one turn, then the next turn you attack with it again, return it to your hand, and now you can play it again, ideally the next turn. So you can kind of loop this kind of effect and keep drawing cards into your memory, which is kind of nice, but it's not super necessary. Otherwise, you just bounce one of your very cheap units, one of your 2 mana or 2 reserve cost units, and then you'll be able to just get a 3/4 body on board, which is a lot of pressure. So this guy's has that bit of a downside. You can't just play him by himself because he'll return himself to his hand. That doesn't make any sense. So you do have to just keep him at a low number. And then finally, we play the Lord of this deck, the Human Lord, basically. So this has class bonus, cost 1 less to activate for each human ally you control. All of your cards are humans, literally. Like all of your allies are humans. So every card on board triggers this. Sometimes you can play this for 0. And it's a 1/4 that other human allies you control get +1 as long as they're attacking. This card is just busted. This card makes this deck just all of a sudden just go from strong to like unbeatable certain draws. So 4 of this guy, very, very strong. That's kind of what makes the wind deck really, really powerful. Then you have 4 going into some of the wind actions. You have 4 favorable winds. Just gives our allies +1 until the end of turn, and it has Floating Memory. So this is really good to dodge spot removal, like they try to deal 2 or 3 or 4 damage or something. We can give it +1 health just to make it so that it survives. And then we can use it for the Floating Memory. So if we didn't want to randomly banish something to go into our level 2 or 3 or what have you champion or anything in our material deck, we can just cycle this to basically play for the Floating Memory cost. It's fast speed, so we can do it at any point during our opponent's turn. It's a really good combat trick / defensive spell to have, and just the extra value on that Floating Memory, which is really, really good. Playing 2 Combo Strike and 2 Wind Cutter, and then also 4 Hurricane Sweep for the wind attacks. So Combo Strike is the one that I told you that you can do with the level 0 Crest that gives you +0 on attack draw card. I mean, this one gives you draw card on attack, and this one will give you, if you're level 2 at least, on kill, wake up your champion, right? So this is really good at removing any type of big unit because it gives you 3 attack, and then on kill you'll restand. So if they have an interceptor or anything like that, you can use this one. Within combination with that, it's really nice. You draw a card, then you attack again, draw another card. So it's really, really good. Or you can just use it to push 3 damage. It's really, really efficient card. Only play 2. I don't think you need more than that. We play enough attack actions. I feel like I always have one, and you can only play 1 per turn, basically, per attack. So you don't want too many. We have the Wind Cutter, which is +1 basically. If you trigger the effect. We play a lot of wind cards in our deck, so it's very easy to be able to just put 2 wind cards into our memory and do this as our first action. It'll get +1 because of the class bonus, and then it has 1 attack itself. And then on hit, we reveal a card at random from our memory. If that card is a wind element, we put Wind Cutter into our memory. So it basically recycles itself. Very, very nice. So we have it again available for the next turn, or to pay any additional memory cost. It's just really nice to use a card and still have it available. You don't use it completely. And then finally, Hurricane Sweep, very, very strong. It's our cleave. It is a +1 damage, and it has efficiency. So the higher level our champion, the more it gets reduced. Usually you're doing this at level 2, so it'll be a 3 reserve cost, +1 damage, +2 from the leader, +1 from a sword, usually at least. So you're doing 4 damage cleave. And then on kill, if you kill anything from the level 2 Lorraine, draw a card. So very, very strong cleave effects, allow you to come back in certain situations where your opponent gets ahead on board. And it's really, really nice. Also note that these attacks cannot be intercepted, so they're basically direct damage to the enemy champion. But you can be retaliated on each attack. So if they have a lot of retaliators, you have to be careful with that as well, because you'll take a lot of damage just by attacking with your champion into everything. And finally, for the small Crux package, I'm playing 2 Ghosts of Pendragon, 2 Crux Sight, and 4 Spirit Blade Ascension. So probably if I had 4 of this one, I would just play 4 of the Pendragon. He's another humans, so he triggers all of your human effects, your Phalanx Captain. So it's just really, really nice. And basically on enter, he returns a Regalia, which is generally a weapon, back into our material deck, and then we're able to draw 2 cards. So very, very strong on a 3/4 body for only 2 reserve costs. Extremely powerful. I'm playing 2 Crux Sight just because it can be either one of these cards, the Spirit Blade Ascension or the Ghosts of Pendragon if we need it. But if I had 4 Ghosts, I think I would just play 4 Ghosts. I think it's just on average better. And then finally, this one lets you draw a card, and then you can play 2 as an additional cost, banish it, and then add a Crux card from the graveyard to our hand. So it just recycles itself for 0, and then additional cost if you have one of these available. Usually you're buying back this action, because this guy probably won't be in the graveyard too early. And then you can just basically have 6 copies of this card, essentially. So Spirit Blade Ascension, as an additional cost to activate, it costs 1. It's Crux. All these cards are Crux, so we can only use them at level 3. We return a Sword Regalia to our material deck, and then we choose a Sword Regalia from our material deck or banishment and put it onto the field. Usually you want to combo that with either one of these 2 weapons here. Generally, you start off with the Sword of Avarice. You might be low on hand size when you go into the Crux element, but you want to save one of these in hand, so that on the following turn you can take any weapon, or even because Lorraine level 3 brings out a weapon also. So you'll have the Drawn Blade, you'll draw a card there, then you'll activate the Spirit Blade, shuffle back the Drawn Blade, go into a Sword of Avarice, draw 2 cards, and then you can shuffle back the Sword of Avarice again if you have another copy of this to draw another 2 cards. So you can shuffle itself back in and then play itself again. So very, very strong combo. And then Prismatic Edge just to finish out your opponent. Once you have the finishing sequence, you can bring out that one instead. And it's basically, if you're playing against a fire opponent, it's 6 damage because it's going to be 3 to any unit and then 3 on the attack with it. So just very, very strong. And that's basically the Crux package. You don't really need much else to finish off the game. This is just very late game. If you didn't get there with your initial salvo, then you can go into these guys, and they generally do a good job of closing out the game as well. So yeah, that's the Crux package. Very small. You don't want them too much. They clog up your hand because you can't play them until way later in the game. Then finally, for the 8-card sideboard, I'm playing 4 Veiling Breeze for the Rye matchup. I don't think Rye can ever win if you have this card in your hand. They'll try to go for game, and then this card will stop them. Just very difficult for them to finish you. It basically says reveal any amount of wind element cards from your memory. It only costs 1 at fast speed, so you can do it in response to them targeting you with a damage spell that's going to kill you or deal you a lot of damage. And then until the end of the turn, whenever damage will be dealt to your champion, prevent an amount of damage equal to the amount of wind cards revealed this way. Very strong. It basically makes it so you can't die if you don't have anything, you know, like if you have any amount of wind cards. Basically, you reveal 3 or 4 wind cards, and all of a sudden all of their damage is reduced by 3 and 4, which makes it so that they can't deal the 24 28 damage depending on where you are in your level of sequence. And then finally, and multiple of those is just insane in that matchup. And then I just put 1 of each random removal, or not removal, but spot interaction spell. We're just trying them. If you find one that you like more than the other one, you just put 4 of that one. I think they all have their situations where they could be good. Depends on the matchups. So I put Extortion Scheme. It suppresses 1 target ally and opponent it controls for 2 reserve call at fast speed. We don't get the class bonus because we're not an assassin. Scattering Gust suppresses 2 target allies at fast speed, and we don't get the class bonus because we're not a mage. And then finally we have, or not finally, but we have Zephyr. With this one targets an ally or regalia. 2 reserve cost fast speed, probably the best one. I think it's the highest rarity, but it just really depends on the situation. And then finally, Disorienting Winds is only slow speed, but it has efficiency, so we can reduce it by the level of our champion, similar to Hurricane Sweep. And it returns a target ally to its owner's hand, and we draw a card, so it replaces itself. These are just, you know, me trying stuff out. I don't know which of these I would keep. I didn't really have a matchup where I needed this, but I could see this being really good against any type of like Tamer deck or any deck that tries to set up interceptors that are hard to get through, or just has really tough units to break through. You can just get rid of them and push damage through them. That's the basic concept. It might not be super necessary in this meta, but I did play against a wind or a Tamer deck that just sat behind 1 really big unit, and I felt like this could just finish out the game very easily because they would just intercept all my attacks. And that doesn't work against this. So that's basically the deck profile. Hope you guys like it. We'll be trying to bring you guys more Grand Archive content as we get more practice and more experience with the game. Right now, this is the only deck that I've really worked on. It seems very strong. I think it's very meta playable from what I understand. And I've had a lot of success with it. So make your upgrades, make your changes, and I think you'll be able to have a lot of success with this. All right, guys. Catch you guys next time.